In the beginning, one of the first things God did was separate the light from the darkness. Then in Genesis 3, Satan whispers to Eve, perhaps the darkness is light.
I am a woman whose body was created sacred, but her sanctity was broken, and now her body feels degraded.
Hello, everyone. I'll wait for the slideshow. I'll give you a nod. Hope everyone's doing well today. So mine's entitled, I Am Royalty. I, like many of us today, felt a great need to attach myself to something that made me feel whole. I needed to feel a part of something. You see, my perception of self was distorted because for so long, my identity was attached to the things that validated my existence. The L, the G, the B, and finally, the T. When I started documenting the changing phases of Steph, my last worldly identity, I would almost always finish my videos with, don't let anyone validate who you are. But why did I need to make that statement every time? It's simple. I actually needed validation because something was stolen from me. In Genesis 1:27, it says, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. By God's design, he created a masterpiece and said it was good. Yet the rebel in me disagreed, and so I debunked his art and redesigned it the way I saw fit. Spending 2 years of my childhood in Jamaica exposed me to a lot of trash. My childlike self just wanted to embrace the culture and the way of life, to the point where my mum would say or remind me that I am British, though it was a privilege to be. Well, I rebelled and continued to pursue an identity that would enable me to fit in. Little did I know that my younger self would have been stalked by grown men nearly every night. I had my innocence taken away from me at 13 by 2 different men. This was one of the most defining moments in history for me. I was groomed by a 19, 20-year-old who took my virginity and left me in the thick of my blood. On the same day, I was led into the back of a church by my stalker, who was 25. He sexually abused me. That was the moment that I made a vow to never treat women the way I was treated, and so I embraced who I was, as a tomboy, even more ever before. Little did I know that many years later, I would have embodied the exact same predatory characteristics of those 2 men in the relationships that I pursued with women. In my later teenage years, I began exploring my sexuality, but the pangs of gender dysphoria started to kick in when I realized being a lesbian wasn't something I wanted to identify with. So I would disguise myself as a man on dating sites at 16, and I'd lure women into believing that I was a guy. By day, I was Stephanie. By night, I was Trey. 1 year into my secret lifestyle, I fell in love with someone. Each time she asked to meet up with me, I would. But because I was disguised as someone who looked completely different from the internet persona, thus I became the stalker. Until one day I had enough of lying and decided to tell the truth. The rest is history. I began my pursuit of happiness from age 19 when I finally encountered someone who was everything that I wanted to be. I went on a quest and spent years researching on how to begin my process of transitioning. Whilst I was pursuing this identity change, I secretly counted the cost about what my family would say, how my peers would react, if my girlfriend would still love me, but I built a status for myself in the LGBT community. I began to advocate in all the ways that I could. I hosted many LGBT club nights, house parties, strip club events. I produced a variety of LGBT films that quickly generated thousands and thousands of views from all over the world, and the list goes on. I wanted to explore everything that I could, and I did, but it still wasn't enough. So, I medically transitioned. I started to embody what it means to be male. I started puberty all over again. First came the voice change, then the psychological change, and lastly, the physical. In all honesty, the only thing I was really looking forward to was seeing my outward appearance evolve. Had various surgeries, removed my breasts and my womb. Last on the list would have been phalloplasty surgery, which is the grafting of a penis. I was living life, dating the most beautiful women, building an influential status in the film industry, filmed documentary with the BBC about my transition, that accumulated millions of views, constant interviews with radio stations, multi-million-pound brands, advocating and encouraging thousands of people to transition all over the world to the status that I had built. However, my longing to be born biologically male soon went from being sweet to stale. The highs quickly turned into lows, the melodic harmonies became a painful dissonance. As I took on the role of a man, I became the stereotype. I empowered misogyny, exploited male privilege, and I challenged the status quo by going to a witch doctor who performed a past life regression on me in order for me to prove to the world that I was a boy in a life before this one. I spiraled downhill and became the opposite of what I didn't want. I became the perpetrators that took my innocence. But I cannot blame them. I can only blame sin. And I know that word may be a trigger for some in here. But if it was, then I can assure you there is trauma that needs to be dealt with. And no therapist, no friend, no colleague, no family member can help you heal that apart from Jesus. Let me tell you how I met Jesus. In 2019, September, I hit rock bottom again. The pain was unbearable this time. I hated the term transgender, but I couldn't attain the standard of man that I dreamt of becoming, so I made the decision to commit suicide. But God miraculously provided me a way out, and from that day forward, I went on a mission to seek the truth behind my existence, because the happiness is all I ever wanted. Little did I know that I was committing spiritual suicide, until one day I was met by a disciple who taught me what it meant to be a true biblical Christian. In Isaiah 43, 18 to 19, it says, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." What you see standing here, ladies, is a result of the power of our Creator. The greatest artist, the most gracious, merciful, compassionate, and just Father that we could ever ask for. And in my wilderness, he reminded me that I was made in his image, not the world's. My name is Stephanie, which derives from the Greek word Stephanos, which means crown. Ladies, I once took the crown off because I didn't know my worth. Now I not only know my worth, but I know my value. I know that I'm chosen, I am limitless, I am powerful, I am bold, and my identity within his kingdom is royalty, it's priestly, it's holy, it's sacred, and it's special. I am the daughter of a king. I'll leave you with this, ladies. Do you know who you are? Thank you.